Hello and welcome to Fifth and Grace. It is the day after. Whew. I stayed up way too late last night. I got up way too early this morning. I'm running on about 4 hours sleep. I'm all stuffed up. I'm a little bit emotional because I think I'm just a little fragile just from the lack of sleep and the excitement. I had a crazy busy day yesterday. But we have the results. Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, or he will be, and he will form his government. I understand that the Republicans also took the House and the Senate, so it was a clean sweep. It was not too close to call, as many of the psychics and readers were saying, based on the information that we were getting. If you go back to my video about the election, I only did one video on the election leading up to it, and it literally was a tie. And so many readers that I follow and then that I don't necessarily follow, but I, would see their videos from time to time. The message was always the same in the videos leading up to the election, that it was going to be too close to call. It was going to be such a tight race that there was really nobody could see a clear decision, anything like that. And it was just really bizarre. And now today, this morning, as I've checked in with all of my favorite psychics and readers and mystics, everybody's asking the same question, like, how did we not see it? Why did we not see this clear and concise, very decisive win for Donald Trump? And so I sat in meditation this morning for my Christian friends. I sat in prayer. And so I was just in contemplation and meditation, thinking about that, thinking like people could have stayed up to see it decided. We were being told it would take days, maybe even weeks to have it all done and dusted and decided and who would be the next president. And that's not how it went. I think I made it to about midnight and got up around 4:30. So 4.5 hours later, first thing I did was check my phone, checked YouTube to see, is there any news? Donald Trump, and he's at this point now, well over the 270 mark. For anybody who's not American, they've got a very complicated system. I don't entirely understand it. There's so many parts to the government. So there's the popular vote, and then there's the electoral vote, I guess. And so each state comes with a certain number of electoral votes. If there's an American watching this who can let me know, is that based on representation by population, or is it just some random number? Because I know like California has something like 52 or 54 electoral votes, which seems kind of extreme compared to other ones. So I'm just wondering if it's representation by population, which is what we have in Canada. And having just said that, I'm Canadian. I have no skin in the game other than knowing that whatever happens in America affects the rest of the world, especially Canada. I actually live quite close to the border. At certain times of the year, I can look across Lake Ontario and see America. So who was that vice president? Who was she? Oh, I can't remember her name, from Alaska. She was like the governor of Alaska or something. And she said, I can see America from my house. Yeah, me too, sweetie. Me too. Me too. I can look across and I can see there's a coal plant over in New York State that we can actually see the little smokestack and the smoke coming up in the air. Anyway, that's how close I live to America. It's fairly easy for me to drive across. Many Canadians do that. If you live in a border town or city, drive across, because everything just costs so much less. So just saying that I'm Canadian, didn't vote, obviously I have my own opinions and my own thoughts, but I have no skin in the game really, other than just knowing that once Trump is in office, there will be effects on Canada, some good, some bad. We'll see how it all plays out. Okay. But the big question on the table today is, why did the cards, the oracles, the tarot, the psychics, and none of it, nobody saw this. And in meditation this morning, I was asking this question, why did we not see it? And the message I got was, you weren't allowed to see it. And I was like, oh, that's making a lot of sense. We weren't allowed to see it. Because sometimes in the mystical world, we're protected from things. So people who see, people who hear, people who know, we're sometimes protected from things. So people say, I thought you were psychic. How did you not see that coming? Because maybe the whole point is that we didn't see it coming. Maybe the whole point is that if we saw it coming, we might prevent it. And then that might interfere with some of our karmic work, that might interfere with some of our soul work, some of the work that we are assigned to do, some of the lessons we're supposed to learn. There's all kinds of reasons why our guide, spirit, whatever you want to call it, might not show us or tell us what we're looking for. And so I sat with that and I said, why would we not be allowed to know this? And the answer I got was a very interesting one. It actually made me open my eyes, and it took me aback a little bit, because that could be considered election interference. That we are using our gifts and our powers essentially to get information about something that we shouldn't have access to. That it had to play out the way it had to play out. Because if every psychic was posting, Donald Trump's going to win in a landslide, what would you have done? If you were a Donald Trump voter, you might have just stayed home and said, it's in the bag. He's got it. I don't need to, get up and go out. If you were a Kamala voter, you might have given up as well. Or you might have been prompted, both Trump and Kamala voters may have been prompted to extra vote, as we know has been happening. I saw that movie, whatever it was called, about the mules a few years ago. I think it was the same guy who made the Vindicating Trump movie. I have a feeling it was the same guy. I believe he's from India, or his family is from India. So he has a name that is escaping me right now, but it's definitely like an Indian name. And for Vindicating Trump, he interviewed Donald Trump, and then there were also other aspects to it. And then also if it was the Mules movie, and he did it. It was a documentary, and it was really, really interesting. Whether you disagree or agree or whatever, the amount of work and effort and research that goes into this guy's movies is astounding. Anyway, back on track. Us being told by whatever you want to call it, the universe, spirit, our ancestors, our spirit guides, God, whatever, that could have been considered an election interference, because we would have information and we could have affected the election if we had been putting that information out. And when I received those messages this morning from my guides, thank you very much, guides. They're always very helpful. It made so much sense. It was like, oh, of course. Of course we can't know this. We could have really messed things up. So that's why every single one of us, this morning I watched some of like the top psychics that I know. And they're all like, how did we not see this? It's because we weren't allowed to, because that could have swayed the election, and that would have been election interference. Especially when so many of us are not American. So that would have been foreign election interference. So there we go. I'm going to do more videos on this. I'm going to do a little check-in on what the next couple of months is going to look like. I believe it's 2.5 months from now. We'll have the inauguration. Oh, do you think that Donald Trump and Melania Trump will walk down the street again? Do you remember when they did that back in 2016? And she was in her beautiful Tiffany blue coat. So, like, iconic New York, really. Like, you cannot get any more New York than the Trumps. Like, that's it. So, maybe Sex in the City. The Trumps and Sex in the City is iconic New York. And okay, I'm sorry, yeah, and the first like 10 seasons of Real Housewives of New York. So there we have it. The trifecta. The trifecta of iconic New York. So I'm going to do another reading. I'm going to do a tarot reading on what the next couple of months is going to look like. I have some interesting things rolling around right now because there is this tremendous sense in the mystic world that Kamala will actually be president, which is perhaps part of the reason why we weren't being shown the answer. So the suspicion is that something's going to happen to Joe Biden and that Kamala will have to step up and finish the term, reign, presidency. Like is it the term? I guess it's the term. To finish the term up until the 20th. I'm not sure that she's capable of doing that, considering she didn't even make a speech to the people who supported her. She, I guess, ran away last night. She's gone into hiding or something. She hasn't actually made that speech at 2 o'clock in the morning, thanking all those people who stood there all night long, waiting for an answer, and who voted for her and supported her and everything else. So we'll see if she does that today. Maybe she was tired. I don't think Joe Biden has said anything. Everybody's checking. Everyone's refreshing constantly to see have the Democrats actually made a statement. And as of the time that I'm recording this, which is 12:21 on the 6th of November Eastern time, there's been nothing that I have seen. So that's my little talk on what why the psychics didn't get these messages. Like we were not allowed to know, because that would have been too much power for us and that we're not entitled to. And we could have caused a tremendous amount of damage in either direction if we had that information and all the psychics were saying the same thing. But what's interesting is that we were all saying the same thing, is that there was no clear-cut winner and it was too close to call, and, blah, 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 it would be a tie and yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, the media was saying it would take days or weeks to get to the bottom of it. But having said all that, I thank you for sticking around for my little ramblings on what happened. And I thought, well, since you're here, stick around. I'm going to pull a card for you and to set your day off. And let's see, the 8 of Wands. Let's look at the timing of that. That's the 8 of Wands. Usually I read 8s as blocks and obstacles, but yeah, we were blocked, weren't we? We were literally being blocked. But this is so sort of our other layers of meaning for this card are that this is a very swift moving energy. This is about making progress. This is about action and gaining momentum. So there we go. A beautiful card for us today. And the 3 of Pentacles. And the timing for this card, which is the reason I got my book out, was to actually look up the timing. The 8 of Wands timing is November 23rd to December 2nd. So buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride, and I think it's going to be quite a fun one too. And our 3 of Pentacles, how gorgeous are these cards? I'm going to show this one up to you. How gorgeous are these? The link to these cards are actually in the description. So it's the Oak, Ash, and Thorn deck, and I've put the link in there for you. 3 of Pentacles timing is January 1st to 9th. Oh, yeah, January 6th is right smack dab in the middle of that. So there we go. But this is about recognition, teamwork, hard work, building on success. It's about learning. This is the energy that's happening today. So I think that this is pretty exciting energy. The great news is it's done. It's done. If you didn't get your way, just sit in that it's done, and we don't have to have our lives consumed by this election anymore and all the campaigning and the rallies and everything else. And we can just get down to business now. So there's our energy for today. Lots of positive forward movement and momentum, buildings on success, and some swift moving forward movement. So there we have it. I thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to check out the description. All my links are there, as well as my email, so you can quickly get in touch with me. And keep an eye out for me going live. I think I'm in the next week, I'm going to sit down and do a live YouTube video of doing card pulls for people. It will be free card readings, and they won't always be free, but for the first few times they are going to be free. So you'll be able to hop on, ask for a card, ask a question, and we'll see what we can find out for you. Thank you for joining me today. Have a magical day.